What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to a new video on the channel, and welcome back to another top 5 video. This is looking like it's going to be a bit of an occurrence on the channel where I'm going to be creating some little tier lists, I guess, or a little top 5 list of a bunch of different cars. The last video that I've made was the top 5 fastest cars in Forza Horizon 5, and in today's video I'm going to be checking out the top 5 best drift cars in Forza Horizon 5. And not only am I going to do an all-wheel drive list, but I'm also going to do a rear-wheel drive list as well for all of you I want to put this in quotation marks, purists out there that do prefer to drift only in rear-wheel drive. So these are all point drift builds, so if you want to try them out for yourselves, you can do so. Like I said, these are the best ones that you can possibly have in this game, from some of the best tuners that you can see building cars in this game. So that's pretty much where every single one of these tunes is from. They're from some very good tuners. Again, these are all tunes that have been used in the past to break PR stunts, such as the drift zone behind me. So basically break records, I mean, on the PR stunts, as you've seen behind me. So that's why I'm picking all of these tunes up. And like I said, if you gotta use them yourself, you can, because I'll put the shortcode up on the screen. I'm gonna start off with the all-wheel drive list, which is, I feel, more important, because that's the one that will basically be breaking records on the list, just period, right? So like not just breaking records just for rear-wheel drive, but breaking records on the list, period. Now, real quick, before I start the video off, I want to give a huge shout out to my man's Dom. Dom, for you guys that don't know who he is a moderator in my Discord, which you can find down below, by the way, where I got all of these tunes. And there's so much more on that Discord. There's tunes, there's other games, you can discuss with other people, you can do whatever you want there. If you want to join the Discord, it's down below. And he also has a leaderboard server, which a lot of the people that pretty much have created these tunes for these cars, and a lot of other things, basically leaderboard hunting, like PR stunts and all that sort of stuff, rivals, is all happening on his Discord server as well. So, yeah, like I said, shout out to Dom for putting this list together for me. I know of these cars, but I've never really taken the time to actually go in depth and actually have a chat with all the leaderboard guys, which they know 100% what's the best car in this game for specific things. So, thank you for Dom for putting this list together for me. The Noble M400. Now, this came up as a little bit of a surprise for me. I think I've had someone send one of these things as a drift build before to me, but I've never used it properly as a point drift build in the past. But the Noble M400 is at the number 5 spot on this list, pretty much ahead of a lot of different cars in this game. Now, I'm not going to go around and drive this thing... I'm not going to go around and drive this thing on the kind of Esta drift zone, because it's going to take an insanely long amount of time for me to be able to do runs all the way down the hill and basically showcase every single car in that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chill around at the festival and just do this drift zone here. And let's have a quick look here. Wait, am I in the wrong place? I am in the wrong place. I accidentally went into the one where the speed zone's at. Again, sim steering on all these cars. They are unbelievably good. Pretty much every single car that you'll see me driving on this list is going to be so good for drifting in this game. And like I said, I haven't really taken a look a lot at this Noble. I've driven a lot of the other cars on this list, but not really at this Noble. So it's kind of interesting for me to try and experience it for the first time and try and drive it. See if I can break my PB here. Again, sim steering is definitely needed. It's on drag tires as well. And I think there's different ways you can approach this thing. I don't know if I'm doing it the right way here, but I'm just going in it. But I think you have to go a little bit faster. It's such a good car. It's such a good car. It's so good, in fact, that I broke my PB on this list. Okay. That didn't take long. It took like 2 runs for me to break my personal best on this list. I know it's not going to be anything crazy, because I think there's a way to bug this leaderboard out or something like that. Regardless, there's ways that you can go off-road and all that sort of stuff, so I don't really care about that too much. But yeah, there you go. I broke my old PB in this Noble just from driving it for what, like a minute? Yeah, it's a pretty ridiculous car. Try it out for yourselves and let me know what you think of it. Again, like I said, I'm not going to be taking this thing out on massive drifts like the kind of Esta drift zone, because I feel like that one is going to be the best place where you can display how good this thing is. But like I said, you can try it out for yourselves and you can let me know what they're all like. Anyway, let's move on to the number 4 spot. Now at the number 4 spot, we have something very interesting. This is the Korum Superlight R500. This is very cool because it is one of those cars that utilizes its weight to be able to slide around pretty well. And by pretty well, I mean it's the number 4th best car in this game to slide around with. So it's doing something very, very right. With it being like this as well, I know for a fact that it's going to be incredibly twitchy. I haven't driven it yet, but I know for a fact that it's going to be very, very twitchy, the way it just changes direction and everything. So, oh yeah, that was instant, and you can see, like I said, how quickly it changes direction. That's mad. So you want that in point drifting, so you can spend as little time as possible driving in a straight line. So what you want when you're point drifting, oh my god, I went in way too fast. Those are the drag tires for you, right? As soon as you go to a corner, if you go a little bit too fast, like, you're gone. There's no lateral grip with these tires. If you position yourself just right, and you go at the right speed, you can send this thing pretty nicely into the wall, I guess, from me. But all these cars will require... What did I hit? Oh my god, it's the flag that's on the ground. I just realized what I just hit. Wow, I positioned that flag so perfectly there. What I was going to say to you is, it's going to take a while, especially if you haven't driven these before, like these type of cars, for you to get used to driving stuff like this. And you can see how effective and how good these cars are. But there you go. Broke my PB again. That's what I was talking about, by the way. You can go like really wide on that. You can get a lot more points than what it's required. So, yeah, these cars, like, you can't just get in and drive them. Like I said, it takes a little while for you to get used to driving them, but they all pretty much have the same sort of basic setup, the way they're built. But of course, all of them have their own, you know, gear ratios and diff tune and all that sort of stuff. So it's all different there. But the basic recipe is always there, right? You have a lot of power, you have the drift suspension, and you have basically a lot of tow, and you just go to corners. And with these drift tires as well, like I said, you have so much lateral grip, and the meta for doing it is you can hold the handbrake for such a long time, and also the cars are just super slippery when you send them sideways, right? When you're in this position, they just continue to slide more and more and more and more. Like, they just don't slow down, which is what is a good thing for point drifting in this game. Like, you obviously want to keep your speed up as much as you possibly can. You don't want yourself to slow down too much. So that's pretty much it. This was at the number 4 spot. The Korum R500 is an unreal car to drift with. Now at the number 3 spot, we have something a little different, and the whole thing is different now, because this isn't really good for drifting on the road. This is actually the best car to drift off-road with, and it's the Willys Jeep. It's very good. I feel like you guys have seen me use this thing in previous videos, because this is what I used before to get any sort of top 1000 runs. Like, if I go to any sort of off-road drift zone, you'll see me in the Jeep here. See what I mean? Like, it's just here. I'm pretty sure I had my own tune on it, though. So even with my crappy tunes, not crappy, but like, they're not like OP or great tunes. Even with my tunes, I'm still able to easily get top 1000 with these tunes. So like I said, there's so many different cars that you can use for this game, and again, some of them will benefit from other corners, and some of them will do better on other corners. But let me try going on a slightly shorter track. I don't really want to go on a massive track here. We'll do this one real quick, just as a bit of a run here. I don't even know if I'm approaching this at the right place. Is it this side? I don't even know if it is this side. Regardless, I'm just going to take it out just so I can show you guys what it's like. It is a fantastic car to drift off-road with. Like I said, I've used it in previous videos, and you guys should be able to see all of those videos on the channel. Again, sim steering makes a huge difference. It helps out a lot. I'm definitely doing this the wrong way. I should be coming in from the other side. And again, with the off-road ones, you have to be so careful because you have to stay in like a specific path. You can't go a bit too wide or a bit too shallow or whatever, because you're just not going to get any points. And that's the funny thing about it, right? And this should be good. Like I said, to drive, you just need to be very, very careful with how you approach these corners and all that. And like I said, you have to stay right in the middle of this trail because you're just not going to get any points. But this is the best tune for the wheelies Jeep if you're trying to do anything on or off-road, not on-road. But if you're trying to do anything off-road, this is the best tune for it. I'm not really displaying it too well here because, like I said, every single time you jump into one of these cars, you kind of have to get used to driving it first before... Okay, I ate a tree. You have to get used to driving it first because I can't just hop in and then just break my record. It's just not going to happen. But this is at the number 3 spot on this list. Let's move on to the next car. Now, at number 2 is the Lotus Evija, and a personal favorite of mine, actually. I love this car so much for point drifting. I have my own tune for this thing, so I didn't even use anyone else's tune up until this point. Of course, I'm going to show you guys the best tune that you can possibly use for this thing, so that's going to be what the shortcut on the screen is. But yeah, I absolutely love this thing. Like I said, if you've watched any of my previous videos on this car, you should have seen me mostly use this car for a lot of different drift zones in this game. Like if I go to this one, for example, I wonder what car is going to be on this list for me. Oh yeah, it's the Lotus Evija. If I go to this one, I wonder what it's going to be. You get the picture. So, like I said, it's one of my favorites to use for drifting in this game. I absolutely adore this thing. It's just such a good car. This is actually the first fully electric car as well that we have on this list, but it's brilliant just because of the power that this thing makes. It's just mental. It's 1,973 horsepower, right? Like the power to weight and the torque as well that's just there is mental with this thing. It's so good. And yeah, I really want to see what this tune is like. Sorry, not with this thing. Because I haven't really tried any of these tunes yet before, so I'm just kind of going in blind, just like you guys are watching this video. I'm just going in blind and having a look at seeing what some of these tunes are. Like, I need to go so much faster as well for this corner. But like I said, with the power that this thing makes, it just picks up speed so quickly. This is probably the one car that I'm mostly familiar with sliding around, so I should be a little bit more comfortable. I slowed down a bit too much there now, but yeah, I don't think this was the right way to do it. I think the other way, approaching it, would have been better. So coming basically from this way that I'm facing now, and going this way, because I feel like you can get a little bit more speed and whatever. Yeah, it's fun. It's really fun using this thing. I genuinely wait. Only 2%? Wait, did I not do top 1000 on this before? I did not do top 1000 on this before. God, that didn't take too long. I just wanted to fix that real quick. Am I top 1000 now? What was it? 196? Ah, yeah, there you go. Cool. Well, there you go. That's the that's the Lotus Evija for you. It's so easy to drive, and like I said, it's my personal favorite anyway to center on this track. Yeah, that was good. Now let's move on to the number 1, the absolute best point drift car in Forza Horizon 5, and here it is. No, it's not a joke. So for the people that didn't know about this car, this is the best point drift car in this game. Yeah, it's a ridiculous little car. This is the BMW Zetta, and yeah, well, you can see why this is a funny little, I guess, reveal. But this is the best drift car in Forza Horizon 5. Weirdly enough, it's just the way the meta is. I guess that is literally it. It's just the way it goes. The BMW Zetta is just too OP. It's just too good. It's super lightweight. I actually want to see what the power is like for this thing. 668, because it's got the Raleigh engine in it. 926 Nm of torque, and it weighs 536 kilos. It's just the way the meta is in this game, right? And because it's so lightweight, like I can keep this thing in a reverse entry continuously. That's stupid. You know how stupid that is? Obviously, I'm not gonna get any points, but. And again, this is 100% one of those cars that you'll need to get used to driving before you drive it, because my god, it's so twitchy. It's so twitchy to drive. Look at it. It's such a weird feeling driving this thing, but it is, like I said, once you get it right, and once you get it done properly, like you learn it, it is such a good car to squeeze points out with. Like it's almost impossible to spin out. That's how good it is. The only way you spin out is if you overdo it, and then you overcorrect. That's the only way you'll be able to spin out in this thing. It's just so crazy to drive. It's such a weird experience to drive this thing. So try it out for yourselves if you haven't ever driven this thing as a drift car, especially as a point drift car. But it is a mental little thing. Like I said, you have to get used to driving it, or else you're just not gonna have a good time, because it's super twitchy to drive, especially with sim steering on. It makes it even more twitchy, which you're gonna have sim steering on every single one of these cars that I've mentioned. But it's just a crazy little car. But yeah, this is the best car for point drifting in Forza Horizon 5, weirdly enough, and it's the best all-wheel drive car as well. Now that that's over with, let's move on to the rear-wheel drive cars, and we'll have a quick look at those as well. Top 5 rear-wheel drive drift cars. Now, at the number 5 spot for the best rear-wheel drive drift car in this game, it's this, the BMW M2 Formula Drift car. I feel like you're going to notice a lot of similarities between the top 5 cars on this list, by the way, for the rear-wheel drive cars, but I'll let you guys see what the actual similarities are. Regardless, this is it, the BMW M2, like I said, Formula Drift car. Very cool car. It's at number 5, so it must be good. So you are right, it's unbelievably good. So as a rear-wheel drive car, it's gonna be. I'm trying to, first of all, listen to it, but at the same time, also try and figure out what this thing is like, because I've never driven it. Yeah, as a rear-wheel drive car, it is slower than the all-wheel drive cars to slide around with. It still has the drag tire compound, has a huge angle kit. What did I just say? It has a huge angle kit, is what I tried to say before I ate my tongue. It's got a huge angle kit on it. Of course, every single one of the FD cars has a huge angle kit. Again, it's a little different to drive now to the all-wheel drive cars, just because of the way you have to approach these corners and how you have to hold your angle. Again, you can see how much slower it is. Like, I'm accelerating in the corners and it's just not moving along like the rear, or like the all-wheel drive cars. Obviously, you just don't have the same amount of grip in the corners, so you just have to be a little bit more careful. But every single one of the cars that you'll see from the top 5 here on this list are all capable of pulling 1.2 million points on the Kata Este drift zone, which is the big mountain pass drift zone. There you go. Much better. I just needed the car to cooperate a little bit with me, because I kept going into the corner a bit too fast. I kept flooring it too much. Again, you have to get used to driving the cars, especially driving these back to back to back. It's just such a weird thing for me, due to the fact that I'm kind of forcing myself to jump from rear-wheel drive to all-wheel drive all the time. And don't get me wrong, I love drifting in this game, but when I'm swapping cars constantly back and forth, it's just a little confusing for me. And of course, not every single car is going to drive the same, so there you go. I'll slowly get used to the rear-wheel drive cars, and I'll do a lot better. Which you can already tell that I'm kind of alright at it. But yeah, the drag tires, look how much they push. So basically, there's just no slip, or sorry, there's too much slip with the drag tires. But again, that's what you want from your point drift builds, right? And if you're not careful, you spin them out instantly. But yeah, this is, like I said, at the number 5 spot for the best rear-wheel drive drift car. It looks so mean though. I love the M2, man. It's such a cool car. Alright, anyway, let's move on to the next spot at number 4. And here it is, the FD Ferrari 599. Now this, if you guys remember, in Forza Horizon 4, used to be one of my favorite cars to slide around with, just due to the fact that it has such a good noise coming out of it as you're sliding. It's a V12 still. It is wonderful. The mesh grille that's on this thing looks almost invisible, but you can still see it. It's there. But it looks almost invisible. It looks like the Ferrari badge is just floating there. But yeah, Ferrari 599. Like, I mean, like, what is there to say about this car? Like, streaming V12, lots of angle. Like I said, this used to be a favorite of mine back in Forza Horizon 4, so I haven't actually tried it yet in this game, but I feel like it's going to be very similar to what the M2 is like. Like I said, most of these cars, especially the rear-wheel drive cars, are going to be quite similar to one another, because of the fact that they're FD cars, right? Like, they're going to be very, very similar to one another with the amount of angle that you can hold with them and stuff like that, but they will have slightly different characteristics. Slightly different. Like, this feels a little nicer. It feels like I'm not going to spin this thing out as easily as the M2, for example, in my eyes. I don't know, it just feels like that to me. But it is a nice car to drive. It is very, very nice. Like I said, look at the massive angle kit that's on this thing. It's ridiculous. So yeah, I love this thing already, and I've driven it for like, what, 30 seconds now. And you can see the drag tires taking effect there, where they just keep sliding more and more. Yeah, it's a good car. It's really, really fun. Again, you just have to kind of get used to it. Going back to back to back, it's just a little weird. But it's nice. It's nice to drive. Every single one of these cars, I'm pretty sure I said this, every single one of these cars is capable of 1.2 million points down the mountain pass, down the Kata Esta drift zone. So you can use pretty much any one of these cars and do that, but obviously the further up the list that I go, the better the car is for it, you know? Alright, well, let's move on to the number 3 spot. Now, here it is, at the number 3 spot, the Toyota Supra. Now this is an interesting one, because this is also a really, really good all-wheel drive car. Before all of the other cars were discovered, and you know, before we got the list of the all-wheel drive cars that I put up, this was actually one of the best cars in this game as an all-wheel drive drift car. Like, I used to use this thing a lot over on the Hot Wheels expansion. And I've done videos on this thing, and it's really, really, really good. However, obviously, more cars were discovered that they were better, and better tunes were created, and obviously this just faded out. And it is still one of the best drift cars in this game, but it is as a rear-wheel drive. But as an all-wheel drive, like I said, it's still really, really good. So you can still find an all-wheel drive tune for this thing, and it's unbelievably good. So I'm a little familiar with this car. Not as a rear-wheel drive, though, as an all-wheel drive. This seems to be maybe like a 2-gear tune, which is like just first to second gear being used. Or am I wrong in saying that? Because it does look like second gear is just very, very long. So far out of the lot, this is the most stable one. So far out of all the rear-wheel drive cars that we've had so far, which is the M2 and the 599. This is the most stable one. I'm not gonna get a lot of points because it was a horrific slide, but this is one of the more stable ones. Like I said, this was at one point one of the best all-wheel drive drift cars. It still probably is very, very good. Like, you can still get top 1000 with it and stuff like that. But it's obviously been dethroned by a lot of other cars. But as a rear-wheel drive, it's still up there. Huge, huge slides. It's significantly slower, of course, than the all-wheel drive cars when you're heading into these corners, but it is a wonderful car to be in and drive. It's so... this is like one of the smoother ones. That's probably why I like this car so much. You can see the drag tires kind of doing their thing. All I have to do is just hold my handbrake and these things just slide forever. It's such a weird thing in this game. I mean, it's the same thing with pretty much all the other Forzas as well. With Horizon 4, it was the same thing. The drag tires would just be the best tires to use for drifting. Yeah, it's really nice to drive. It is a wonderful car to drive. It's definitely one of the easier ones as well out of this list so far. Cool. Let's move on to the number 2 spot for the best rear-wheel drive car to drift with. Now, in the number 2 spot sees the return of the king. This Oracle Viper. If you know, you know. This in Horizon 4 was unbelievably good. It was such a good car for a very, very long time. Up until they released the King Cobra in Horizon 4, this was just unbeatable. It was such a fantastic car to slide with. On-road, off-road, whatever. It was just brilliant. I had my own tune on this guy in Horizon 4. Obviously, I ended up using some other people's tunes at the very end when, you know, a lot more people kind of perfected their tunes with this thing. But even in Horizon 5, it is the number 2 best car in this game for rear-wheel drive drifting. It's very, very good. Let's actually give it a shot, just so we can see how good it actually is, because it's just perfect. I think the balance of it is perfect. Look at that understeer. I think the balance of it is perfect. I think just how well you can catch this thing when you're sliding is probably why it's so good. It transitions very quickly, actually. It transitions a little bit quicker than the Supra. The Supra was very smooth, but this is just... this transitions quicker. Oh my god, and I went too fast in that corner. Let's slow it down a little bit. Again, in Horizon 4, I drove this thing a lot as an all-wheel drive. Oh my god, it's still perfect. It's still so good. Wait, what? I extended that slide as if it was an all-wheel drive car. It is just so nice to drive. Even in this game. It just brings back memories whenever I drive this car. Because I made so many videos on Horizon 4 with this thing. It is such a good car. Again, in Horizon 4 I used to use this thing for on-road and off-road. It was just such a weird and great car to use. And even in this game, like I said, it's doing a brilliant job. It's a really good car. I mean, I can't really say anything else about it. That's why it deserves to be at the number 2 spot. That's a proper reverse entry as well there. Except I messed it up. Oh, it looks like we're going this way. Alright, anyway. I'll leave the Viper alone. I feel like I've said a lot about it. It's just, it's a brilliant car. Yeah, it was bound to be on this list at some point, I'm pretty sure. Like I said, I've never really drifted in rear-wheel drive for point drifting in this game, but this would definitely be up there. Look at this drifting with the drag tires, man. It just never slows down. It's crazy. It is crazy. And here's the number 1 car. This is the Z, the Nissan Z. I love this thing. I've driven it actually in one of the previous videos, if you've watched it on the channel, because this was my first time with this car to drift in rear-wheel drive point drifting, and I decided to try it for a video because, I mean, why not, you know? Why wouldn't I try the best car? So I ended up using it there a few days ago for a different video, and I absolutely loved it. I did a run down the Cara Esta drift zone. You can go watch that video if you want to. It was a brilliant car to drive. I just needed, like I said, to get used to it a little bit, but every single time I went down the mountain, I was getting more and more points. So it's a brilliant car. It just feels a little slower than the all-wheel drive cars, but The control is there, the grip is there. It's just such a good car. And the crazy thing about it is this. Look at those stats, by the way. 1,982 horsepower. It weighs 1,433 kilos, but it makes 2,500 newton meters of torque. That's why this is also very, very good as an all-wheel drive drift car, because you can push this thing out of corners so fast with that torque. It's just mental. And look how easy it is to like not spin out with this thing, because it has such a huge angle kit and it grips up nicely. It's a great car. It is a brilliant car. And like I said, it's also really, really good as an all-wheel drive car if you really want to try use it for that. But of course, for this list, for the best rear-wheel drive cars, this has to be at the top. This has to be at the top. I have driven this thing, I think, initially at the very, very beginning when they first released it, and I loved it back then. And of course, the people that take all the leaderboards seriously, they decide to make a insane tune for this thing. Yeah, it is a great car. I'm not going to spend too long on this car because, like I said, I made a video on it just a few days ago, so go and watch that if you want to see slightly more in-depth and slightly better driving on this. But yeah, that's it for today's video. Thank you for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this video was entertaining enough. And of course, if you liked what you saw and you're new to the channel, subscribe because it helps out a lot. Plus, I'm also really interested in making some more of these top 5 videos. I actually really enjoy making them. There's so many different things that are used in this game, like for stuff for like off-road racing, rally racing, all that sort of stuff for different classes, all the different types of cars. Like, there's just so many different top 5 videos that I could make on this game, and it not only is it like fun for me to make because I get to try different cars and different things, but also it's quite useful for a lot of the people that want to just use the best of the best, you know what I mean? So it's a good idea for these videos to go up on the channel. So yeah, if you want to see more videos like this, then of course show your support, like the video, comment down below what else would you like to see on the channel, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, thank you for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.